Now myself, I've been an atheist for years and a naturalist as well, which means I don't right now see any reason to believe in any kind of magic. And the other day I was sitting on a chair doing some work, and the door to my apartment slammed shut. And immediately my heart started beating faster, and I immediately moved towards that with my body, assuming that this was an agent. When I wasn't expecting visitors. I don't get visitors. There's a gate outside me. You know, it's made no sense for it to be somebody, but my body did that anyway, even though I have no belief in supernatural agents, and there's no particular reason there should be a person at my door. That's just how we're hardwired. We're hardwired to see agency before we think of a natural process. So I think we're hardwired to way, way overbelieve everything, just like you were speculating. And we're hardwired to way, way overbelieve in agency, as opposed to natural processes that we can't relate to as well. We're social creatures. We like to think everything is agents, because then we can think about how their mind works and how to respond and how to propitiate the gods to get better crops next year. Yes?
Well, I missed the whole part about Dawkins, so I apologize if you have answered it before, but I got the part about Dawkins. And you were saying that his argument was that, so who designed God? And I assume that when he said that, he meant a bit longer argument than what you suppose that he said, is that if religious people or whoever is arguing for God is okay with stopping at one location in the chain of designers that say that, okay, I'm going to pick one point in this chain that it has no designer before it. So why aren't they going to be okay with stopping at some other location, let's say like the Big Bang or some other thing that doesn't have a designer and not necessarily some agent or something like that? So that does not interfere with the problem in science that we stop at some hypothesis and we should not stop at that hypothesis.
Yes, that's a very good point. So what he's saying is that when I critiqued Hitchens, maybe that I was misreading Hitchens, and Hitchens wasn't really saying just that who designed God, and that invalidates the whole theistic project. Maybe what's really happening here is if the theists are okay with stopping at a particular thing and saying the buck stops with God, why not say the buck stops with the universe? Why go on to God? Why not do that? So that's a question that is a huge part of this debate in the cosmological argument. Now, I didn't read that, at least in that section of Hitchens, but maybe my exegesis of Hitchens is incorrect, and that's the argument that he wanted to make. But in any case, I'm sure all of you have heard the who made God argument, and so I did want to address that. Now, Dawkins has said it as well. It's all over the place. Now, in regards to the argument that you made, there is a lot of debate on why, in the cosmological argument, why would you say we have to posit God to explain the existence of everything else? Because you have to stop somewhere. You have to maybe stop with God, but why not think that the universe is the necessary being, existing thing, and just stop there? And that's a huge debate. There's an interview on my podcast with philosophers and scientists with a philosopher named Timothy O'Connor that's specifically about that. If you want to know more about that, you can look at that. It's a huge debate. I couldn't possibly summarize it here. Other questions?
Also in your research, how is religion as ideology along with politics associated? I teach political science, so I tend to be more earthly and pragmatic. And one question I give my class is a general question that after they study politics, or core politics, the theory of power relations among people, I said, is religion politics? Is it a political institution? Just about everybody says yes, intuitively, yes. And I've always been intrigued by that. So if we cut out the God stuff and let's talk about politics, power, human relations, and then of course the whole panoply of morals, ethics, political economy, all this stuff, it really seems to clear quickly and the mysticism goes away. Have you come upon any discussions that relate to as ideology, God as ideology?
Well, that's a massive question. I mean, there are maybe 7 or 8 leading theories of what religion is and how it functions in society. 7 or 8 theories, that's ridiculous. You know, usually there's 2 or 3 theories of something that are plausible and on the plate. There's 7 or 8 for religion, and how it functions and what it does. So, but religion, the problem here is that religion is a word that we use that refers to so many different possible expressions. So it's very hard to think of a Zen Buddhist in the mountains as a political entity. But it's very easy to think of Constantinian Christianity in the Roman Empire as a political entity. So religion has a huge number of functions. It can be expressed in certain ways. You're probably most familiar with the way that the religious right has made a real political push since Carter in the United States. And so that is a way that society and politics and religion have really fused and made a big difference. And then there are other religious people who are pushing back against that and saying that corrupts both government and religion. That corrupts Christianity, that corrupts my religion, Christianity, and that corrupts the government as well, and we shouldn't be doing that. So, I mean, there's no way to answer that question, but it's lots of interesting topics. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. There is a separation, of course, we make a distinction about religion and as an institution, and then the idea of spiritualism and things of this nature. Back to politics again. The idea that people intermix religion and politics. Again, religion, not necessarily spiritualism per se, but religious institutions, and they tend to be kind of integrated, and it confuses kind of the political argument, because people look at religion as faith-based, and faith is something not to laugh at, it's a very powerful force. But when you mix it with politics, which tends to be very pragmatic and try to rationalize power, it's like nitroglycerin. As they say in political science, the most committed wins. And if it's just faith-based, one of the questions we ask is if the president wakes up in the morning and wants to press the nuclear button because God told him so, I said, well, that's not a religious argument, but for a political argument, you're dealing with a lot of other humanity around you.
Well, what you've just articulated is one of the major political arguments coming out of the Enlightenment, and the idea is that people have faith, and there's not really any way to persuade them off of that. And so if we allow religion into politics, then we're just going to have endless clashes, and the 30 Years' War is going to be a 300 Years' War. And so we have to separate religion from politics because we have to be talking on the same ground. And Obama has expressed this idea that if we're going to argue about abortion or gay marriage or any of these topics that are often religiously intertwined, we have to, Obama says, we have to talk about it in ways that, you know, even though Obama is a religious person, he says, I have to express my arguments without reference to ancient scriptures or supernatural revelation. I have to say we shouldn't have we shouldn't have abortion or something like that because, and then give a list of reasons that don't make reference to your own particular religious tradition. And that's kind of a big, part of the Enlightenment, and there's lots of pushback against it. There's lots of arguments for and against it. I mean, you raise a huge number of issues that I can't address, but we can move on to other topics. But those are all great questions. Yeah.
I actually like what you touched on regarding spirituality and religion. I'm with the Humanist Association of San Diego. We have a lot of people that express an interest when I talk to them, and they don't make the leap into atheism or agnosticism. They're spiritual. They got here somehow, they don't know what it is, but they reject organized religion. And I was wondering if you could comment or elaborate a bit.
There are a lot of people like that. I tend to, sometimes I call myself a spiritual atheist, and all I mean by that is that I have experiences of incredible awe when I think about certain things in the universe. Morality is a huge part of my life. In fact, I would like to devote my entire life to moral philosophy. And so there are a lot of these things that we associate with spirituality, and I take on board a lot of them without actually believing in non-physical agents. Maybe there will be evidence later.